Methadone changed my life.
It changed my life.
It changed my life.
Once you start, you can't stop. You're being drawn in, constricted by chains so heavy you can't get back up. Going into withdrawal is even worse. It gets harder to sleep. Everywhere it's either really hot or really cold. Feeling sick all the time for the lack of meth. Having nightmares of things that shouldn't be.
I had a fairly normal lifestyle. Went to work, socialized with friends, went to church every Sunday, had a good job.
What were the influences of you using meth?
Well, I think I have to say it was probably some of the friends that I hung around with. Initially, we kind of started off just drinking and smoking pot, and one thing led to another. Well, I think I have to say it was probably some of the friends that I hung around with. Initially, we kind of started off just drinking and smoking pot, and one thing led to another, and one of my friends suggested, let's try meth. And once you try it, it's kind of hard to stop.
So I was a counselor for about a decade, and I was a chief program officer for another 5 or 6 years, and in that capacity I got to meet thousands and thousands of people in recovery, and a lot of them sounded and looked a lot like me, and a lot of them sounded and looked a lot like my kids. So the answer is I connect with almost everybody. My personal journey started like a lot of people's journey. High school is a fun time to experiment with a whole bunch of things, and at least when I was younger, I didn't really think that anything was going to hurt me. And it came to a point where I had to decide whether I was going to continue my behaviors or stop. And the people that I was around, some of them are no longer with us. So I made the decision to enter recovery and be sober in my early 20s. And when it came time to pick a career, I was really interested in how I could help others to make sure that they don't follow the same path. Because while I was lucky, a lot of my friends weren't. So when it was time to find a career, I was very interested in behavioral health, and addiction is a subsection of behavioral health. And no matter what I did in my internships, no matter what I did in my counseling work, addiction came up. So I decided that was what I was going to do. My definition of an addict is somebody who, when you stop using the drug that you've chosen to use, your body starts going through withdrawal, and your mind says, I cannot stop this. It becomes something that's not a choice. It becomes something that you have to do every day.
Until I started doing drugs, my friends were fairly normal. We did the same things. We went to the gym, we had barbecues, cooked out families, we all did things together. My father was an alcoholic and a very strict man, and my mother was a homekeeper. She stayed at home, and she pretty much just let us do what we wanted to do. When I was growing up, I wanted to become a doctor. When I got older, I wanted to go to college and have a good family, have a happy family.
Having people come into the emergency room with kind of short-term use, acute issues is not all that uncommon. I think some of the worst side effects have to do with its short-term side effects, in the sense that if your blood pressure is really high and your heart's pounding away, if that goes to a point, if that's driven by the drug to a point that your body can't handle it anymore, you can have a heart attack, you can have a stroke. Actually, I had a patient who was, I think he was like 32, 33, something like that, who was very healthy otherwise, used a lot of methamphetamines and had a stroke. He couldn't speak anymore. And that's, in early 30s. So that's some of the worst side effects. The other thing to think about that I haven't spoken about yet is that after a high, there's a crash, right? People feel great for a short time, and then as the drug washes out of the body, they feel terrible. And a drug like methamphetamine, it's a quick on, quick off, meaning you feel great really quickly, but you also feel really bad really quickly, and you feel really bad. So what ends up happening is that because you feel bad, you want to get out of that bad feeling state, you want to feel good again, and so what do? Well, you want to use more meth, right? So you end up with this very dangerous feedback cycle. You take methamphetamines, you get high, and then you crash. After a high, there's a crash, right? People feel great for a short time, and then as the drug washes out of the body, they feel terrible. And a drug like methamphetamine, it's a quick on, quick off. So what ends up happening is that because you feel bad, you want to get out of that bad feeling state, you want to feel good again, and so what do? Well, you want to use more meth, right? You take methamphetamines, you get high, and then you crash. So you take more to get out of that crash, but then you crash even harder, not that much longer later, then you can end up with a very dangerous feedback cycle.
So how'd you get to the point of using meth?
Well, it started off with me and a couple friends. You know, we were just messing around, and one day we just got introduced to the drug by a couple folks. It started getting to the point where, you know, getting serious.
What were the effects meth had on you?
Are you recording that now?
So how did you feel using the drug?
Times it started off great, but from time to time I would feel like a weird sensation. You know, it didn't feel right after a while, so I had to get some sort of help. But for the time being, it was great.
So how'd you feel when you were using meth?
Well, the way I felt when I was using meth, it was a great time. You know, it just started off great, but for the time being, after a while, it started having some weird effects. Effects that I didn't like. It was like my teeth were just yellow and nasty, and then my face was just getting all pimply, and it just came to the time where I had to make a decision, and that wasn't a good decision. I kept using it despite all those effects. Pretty soon I had to get some help. It took a while for me to recover, you know. But so
What was the withdrawal like?
well,
So what was withdrawal like?
going to withdrawal was even worse. It was like once you stop, you can't stop. You can never stop. You wanted it. It was like my golden ticket, my candy bar, the thing I wanted the most. It was like family to me. Maybe not family, but I wanted it. Like I really needed it. But it was hard to resist. It wasn't going through those times. It was just going through those times.
Well, I had to hide the drugs and the drug use from my family, my wife. Excuse me. And ultimately, my wife divorced me, and my kids don't speak to me anymore, and I don't have a family life anymore.